A familiar face is headed back to the Plains, and with the makeup of this defensive line room, could it signify maybe a scheme change?
In the world full of podcasts, he's the undisputed heavyweight champion of hot takes, an Auburn sports homer, master of the boog, and message board legend. Get your buttons buttoned and your hats flattened, because the Top Button Podcast is about to kick off, and you don't want to miss your courtside seat. Now, here's your host, Charlie 5.
Yes, sir. We're back. It's another episode of the Top Button Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Rush, a.k.a. Charlie 5, and we are ready to get after it. Happy dadgum Monday. Last night, Zach and I talked a lot about all of the portal action over the last 4 or 5 days. We briefly talked about Jay Hardy coming back to Auburn from Liberty. I want to talk a little bit more about that. And with the makeup of this defensive line room and the size of the guys and different things that you've heard coming out of spring, could Auburn be looking to throw, could DJ Durkin be looking to throw some different looks out at offenses this year? We're going to talk about that as well here in just a second. But before we do that, let's give a quick shout out to Uncle Keith's Red Sauce. Go to UncleKeith'sRedSauce.com. Use coupon code TheBarn30 to take 30% off. You got to the end of the month. Save 30%. So we bumped it up a little bit. If you want to try the mild, you want to try the spicy, doesn't matter. They got it both. They got both of them at that website. If you live in the state of Alabama, you live close to a Publix, you can try it out there. If not, hit that website. Save big. If you love salsa and you want to try it with a Southern kick and you want to support an Auburn family at the same time, man, that's the trifecta right there. You need to check out Uncle Keith's Red Sauce. It's good, y'all. All right, Jay Hardy. Let's talk a little bit more about Jay Hardy. Auburn adds Jay Hardy back to the roster. Again, I talked about his awesome recruiting story back in the day, back last week. It's funny, I'm looking at his 247 profile, and he has like 100% predictions to go to Tennessee. That was a big get. That was a big get for Auburn. He was one of the jewels of that class. I think he was a top 100 player. He comes to Auburn during that COVID year, doesn't play much, and then obviously you have a coaching change, and he leaves, and he goes to Liberty. And it took him about a year to really get acclimated. He didn't play his first year very much there, and then his 2023 season was a really good season. He played a good bit in 2023, put up some good numbers, looking to come back in 2024 and have a big year, and then just got, banged up a little bit, didn't play a ton last year just due to injuries. There were several times during since Hugh Freeze has been here, that I thought Jay Hardy would already be on this roster. Kind of thought he may come with him. Whenever he was hired, it didn't work out. After he had his really good season in 2023, I thought it was a foregone conclusion he would come. We needed defensive linemen for whatever reason. It didn't work out. And now, when it makes the least amount of sense, if you really think about it, for Jay Hardy to come back to Auburn, he's headed back to Auburn. It makes great sense for Auburn. You needed experience. You needed more depth along the defensive line. Basically, once you get past the starters, you're just leaning on true freshmen. So it's great to have somebody like Jay that you can bring in. But hey, for Jay, you're coming in and you got guys ahead of you. Not saying he can't beat them out. Not saying he won't beat them out. But you have some really talented dudes, really, really talented guys in front of you. So I think that could not have been in this spring portal period. I think that couldn't have been there couldn't be a better addition than what Auburn's got out of Jay. I'm going to get to the scheme change portion of it in just a minute, but it doesn't seem like Auburn's done on the defensive line. We briefly touched on it last night, but James Ash, a defensive lineman from Florida A&M, FAMU, looks like he could possibly be heading to the Plains here as well soon. Started getting some predictions from some of the guys at On 3. He came in from a visit, and like Zach and I talked about last night, typically when Auburn brings you in for a visit in the portal and they want you, they get you. I mean, they've figured this whole portal thing out. You know, the first couple of that first year, the portal addition, the portal strategy was somewhat of a nightmare. And then spring last year, with the addition of Will Redmond, they really started to hone in on how to do this thing. Had a really good spring, obviously had a really good December, this past December. And when they get locked on to a guy and they bring him in for a visit, it pretty much signifies he's going to be part of this team. James Ash. This is kind of where I'm going to go with this. Okay. He's 6'4", 280. Auburn, to me, if you're just looking at it from last year to this year, last year you had Isaiah Rakes and you had Jeremy. God, good gracious. I'm losing Jason Jones, not Jeremy Jones, Jason Jones. I just totally blanked. You had those two guys as your true nose tackles. There was no doubt about it. That was the position that they played, and they were solid. And you could run that three-man front. You got a true nose that can hopefully eat up space, take up blocks, control gaps, and allow your linebackers to sort of run free and make plays. Auburn went into the portal because you were going into this next season essentially with no true nose tackle. Go into the portal, you get Dallas Walker, and it seems like after spring, it seems like that Bobby Travis has emerged as a better option at nose than even Dallas Walker. The problem with that is I don't know that I think Bobby is a great player, and I want him on the field, but I don't know that that's his best position. I don't know that is his most ideal position is being lined up right there on top of the center, eating blocks. He's a little bit longer. He's a little bit leaner. I mean, even though he's over 300 pounds now, he's just not one of those big, wide guys that can sit down in the middle and put pressure on the interior of that offensive line as far as just being a gap controller. To me, he seems more like a playmaker, more like a disruptor. So now Auburn's sort of in a situation, to me, where you just don't have a ton of those true nose guys. And you bring in Jay Hardy, who's another one that is not, to me, a true nose guy. James Ash at 6'4", 280 pounds is not a true nose guy. So you're going into the season without a ton of those type players. So what does that mean? Is it a bad thing? I don't necessarily think it has to be a bad thing. I've been hearing some talk, and more so from just hey, they're working on some of these looks. But I think there could be a few more looks. Maybe, I don't know that it's going to be the whole defensive scheme, but a few more looks where maybe Auburn goes with some four-man down linemen. And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I think that's kind of interesting to take. In reality, a lot of our looks last year were four-man looks when you have the edge or the buck, whatever you want to call it. But you're going from instead of having that one guy over the center, Auburn has two really good, in my opinion, 4-3 defensive tackles in Bobby Travis and Malik Blockton. I think those guys would be fantastic 4-3 defensive tackles. You have a really good defensive end on one side. You brought in Chris Kelly, who you got listed as a defensive end. Chris Kelly Murray, who is a little bit bigger than your typical edge. Could you be going to a more traditional 4-3 look with two more 4-3 defensive ends on the outside, and then your more traditional tackles, traditional 4-3 defensive tackles on the inside? I definitely think it's something they experimented with in spring and could be something that you see a little bit more of. Instead of just trying to jam a square peg into a round hole, take what you got, and it's not even a huge, it's not like it's just a huge adjustment. Because again, you had some looks that were pretty close to a 4-3 look last year anyway. But maybe go to a more traditional, 4-3, 4-2-5 type look moving forward. Pros and cons. I think the one thing that the biggest negative that you have when you go from, a 3-man front to a 4-man front is you really rely on your defensive line for pass rush. There's not a lot of creative ways to bring pressure because they're all right there in front of you. So Durkin really likes to disguise looks, the simulated pressures and things like that. When you go to a 4-3, it's just man on man, you got to beat your guys. So I think, Malik Blockton, and I think Bobby Travis and Keldrick Falk and whoever you have out at the other end, I think all those guys are good, but can they do it consistently, play after play, rushing the passer without aid from, some of the linebackers? A pro, though, man, it's going to be tough to run on these guys. I think they'll be really, really good against the run in those type looks. So it'll be interesting. I'm not saying Auburn's going to go full sail, switch away. Durkin's going to go full sail switch away from, what he's done in the past. But the personnel to me seem like it could be headed to where you get a little bit more of those type looks. I'm not ready to, throw Dallas Walker away. It's only one spring, and he could emerge and be that guy. And Bobby Travis could end up being like the best nose tackle in the conference. Who knows? But I'm just looking at the makeup of this defensive line room and the guys you're bringing in too. I don't know. That could be something that could be interesting moving forward. We're going to talk a little bit more about James Ash here in just a second. But before we do that, we're going to give a quick shout out to mybookie.ag. Take advantage of that coupon code, man. Take advantage of that barn coupon code. Get a 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000. Free play money. Take it and run, man. Go hit the sports book. Every single way that you can imagine you can bet, they got it. And every line, every different way that you can bet, first half, second halves. In baseball, they have all the different, like first seven innings type bets, those type things. They got a little bit of it all. So check it out, mybookie.ag. Then take all that money that you won and head over to rowback.com and take 20% off your order by using coupon code BUTTON20. If you like polos, they got them galore. Perfect for spring. You can load up on your spring and summer apparel right now. Swim trunks. They got, everything you can imagine. Cool styles. Save big. Use coupon code BUTTON20. Rowback.com. We'll be back right after this. All right, we talked about James Ash a little bit at the beginning of the show. We'll go a little bit more in depth on him. Again, Tampa, Florida, 6'4", 280. From Florida A&M. He actually signed with Wake Forest out of high school. So he was a mid 3-star guy, signed in that 2020 class with Wake Forest. I don't think he ever played, and then ended up transferring to Florida A&M. And it looks like, he's really started to come into being a pretty good football player. Had 2.5 sacks last year on the defensive line. Again, you have to remember, you're not trying to go out and find elite starting level talent because you feel like you have a really, really solid group of starters. So if you can add this cat, plus you already got Jay Hardy. If you can add these two guys, you sort of, and they're Jay Hardy and James Ash are both 1-year guys. So you don't necessarily have to worry about them being super discouraging to any of the young guys that are still getting bigger and still learning how to play football. You don't have to worry about them being super discouraging to those guys because they're done after this season. Stop gaps. This portal period, this is no knock on either one of these guys. This portal period has not been just super deep and loaded with starter level talent. So it's been really good, though, to be able to pick these two guys out and see how they sort of plug into your roster and fit in that when you're trying to stair step, when you're trying to stair step your depth chart and plug and fill a few holes. I think these guys fill it perfectly. Auburn still got, there's still some things that Auburn's looking to add. I feel like the linebacker room's set. You should be good there. We'll talk about the linebacker room probably later this week. DB is going to be interesting. You've only got about 6 healthy true corners, and 2 of those are true freshmen. Bringing in a corner to visit this week. That'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Safety room feels good. This James Ash guy, he's really more of a defensive end than he is an interior guy. So could he help with some of the pass rush? You've lost a few defensive backs, but again, nobody that you're necessarily super concerned from a need them for 2025 scenario. You just got to fill out I feel like you got to get just a couple more numbers just to fill out those scholarships that you lost. But doing a pretty good job so far in spring. Only a couple more days. I think the portal closes. I think it closes pretty soon. I think it was only open for, maybe it closes tomorrow. I'll have to look that up. But it's closing soon, and Auburn's got just a little bit of work left to do. Nothing serious. This I feel it's a good feeling that your starters across the board you feel really good about. So you're not trying to go find starters in spring. I think that's a good step. That's a good step in the right direction. Guys, I really appreciate it. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about if Auburn would have switched to a few more 4-3 looks versus 3-4. I'd love to know your thoughts there. Am I way off? And who are some guys that you've seen in the portal that you'd love Auburn to take a shot at? If you like the video, like it. If you like the channel, subscribe to it. Don't forget to go to mybookie.ag and take advantage of that coupon code, that 50% deposit bonus. We're going to be back every single day this week. Going to try to have a couple of different guests on, so stay tuned for that. And we'll talk again soon. It's another episode of the Top Button Podcast. Stay button.
Thanks for listening, and drive home safely.